Hi, we're Harder Brunch.
We're Harder Brunch.
And we're super excited to tell you about our adult summer camp this August 25th, 26th, and 27th.
Wow.
We're going to be doing a full 3-day festival, and we want you to be a part of it.
Let's go.
It's going to be amazing. We got all your favorite comedians. We got headliners Brent Terhune and Gwen Sunkel on board.
Okay.
We're going to have musical acts by Clint Breeze, House of Wolves, The Tubbles.
Dang.
And all weekend is going to be all inclusive.
Wait, all
That's
inclusive?
right. One ticket price all weekend long gets you into everything. We're going to be bringing back all of the favorite summer camp activities you remember as a kid. We're going to be doing swimming, archery, handicrafts, canoes.
Wow.
All weekend long, all inclusive.
That's not even financially smart.
Well, that's what we're doing. Get your tickets today at eventbrite.com, and we'll see you there.
I guess we'll see you there.
Harder Brunch. Summer camp.
Down. Ooh, I'm eating brunch with my people though. The homie Dyke just cooked up a feast and we bout to eat it, bro. Fucked around and has to mix the lobster with the poutine. Daddy is rolling blue dream. Them boys got down a routine. It's Naptown culture. Cooking 7 courses. Had to pass the torch and now I'm grabbing second portion. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a smoke. It's Harder Brunch on the way and get prepared for the jokes. Whoa.
Hi, and welcome to the Harder Brunch Podcast. I'm your host, Dyke Michaels, and with me, as always, my co-host, Thaddaeus Mckee.
I'm sorry.
On the ones and twos, the wheels of steel, the sauce boss of Indianapolis, and the last broke dragon. Give it up for Zach Rohn, everybody.
And I'm not.
Very special returning champion with us in studio, Kyle Nuck If You Buck.
Oh, I like what you did there.
Absolutely. Big fan of that. That was when that came out in high school.
Oh,
I was blaring that in my Grand Dam, pulling in and out of the parking lot like an asshole does in high school.
you're the man. I mean, I was doing that, and I don't have that name.
Right? and I'm like, if people are like giving me shit, like I can identify with this. You know what I mean? Like, come on. But then I realized listening to it, I could not relate to any of it at all. Actually, I am so unnuck.
Well, was the next line "slob on my knob" like a corn on the cob, or is that a different
That's
song?
a different song.
That's a different song.
Nuck if you buck, slob on my knob, corn.
I mean, the time signature is about the same.
Probably the
but
same.
Yeah,
You
that's
probably could
about
mix
it.
those two songs together.
Oh, totally.
Pretty. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, you could definitely put "Slap on My Knob" over a little bit of "Nuck If You Buck."
One of my favorite things to do, and I realized this recently, is watching your white friends sing rap songs and then take the pause where they obviously say the N-word in their own car. And then they're like, oh, I should probably delete this one on the fly real quick.
Wait, your white friends pause? So mine to say it.
In the past 5 years, they have. Well, that was the thing. I was just like, man, I was like, I've said this on here before, and anyone under 30 looks at me like I'm insane, but I'm just like, no, man, everyone just said it like in the 90s. Like it was, black culture, especially like movies and music, it was just like all of my white friends quoted, Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence and stuff like that.
Sure.
It was funny to me getting into comedy. I was kind of surprised that white people couldn't say like the soft A anymore. I was like, when did that happen? I've been on a food truck. I've been in like culinary school, and like, no, man, like no, grandpa racist. Nobody says that anymore.
I mean, you can speak to this, Kyle, but I'm sure there's a group of people that miss the soft A.
Because there's clearly a group of people that just never stopped, right? I mean, you walk into any number of gas stations.
Oh, I played Call of Duty before.
Oh man,
I do get it though, because like one of my favorite things is like when I'm out at like hanging around and I see like a gay dude like call another gay dude the F slur.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, nostalgia. That hits like the 90s.
It tickles you inside a little.
It tickles me inside, and also it's just like, but it's not a hate crime, Everyone is like mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, indeed, it's a term of endearment support, even.
Yeah. I would be kind of confused though if I saw a hate rally and then them saying the soft A. I'm like, just say it. At this point, you get the ER if you have a Confederate flag.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a pass there for the Confederate flag?
I give the Proud Boys a pass.
I would say just no half measures. You know,
Exactly. Like, it's confusing after a while.
Like one of the things, like the half measures, like did you ever watch the show Billions?
I've heard about it, but I haven't watched
the first couple seasons are like really good.
Oh yeah,
and then it kind of jumps the shark a little bit. But like they have a season where they introduce this character who's supposed to be like this, tech brain whiz, like stock market analyst, and they're non-binary, and then it ends up being like the main guy going up against this person, and they're like literally to the point where they're talking about having them killed, right? And they're just still using the correct pronouns. And I'm like, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
Like, you're planning to assassinate this person while respecting their gender identity.
That's great.
I might be a villain,
but I think there's
not a monster.
But interestingly, there's no more iconic sort of instance of this whole situation than that like religious video that came out that was Jesus Christ is my... You remember that? Where the old white couple, they put out a whole music video that was a rap, that was a pro-Christian rap, where the whole line is Jesus Christ is my, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Nigga?
F-word?
Oh, okay.
That's the name of the episode.
Oh, gosh. So Jesus Christ is my nigga. With an A or ER?
Oh, no, it's an A. Like, they're trying to be hip. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
And this old white couple?
Yeah, and I don't think this is satire.
But there was also like there was a time,
yes,
like when Vince McMahon would say it on like wrestling, you know what I'm saying, like as a character, and I think even then it was always supposed to be cringe, right?
Yeah.
Like it was always supposed to be cringe. Oh, this is he put a black person in the background so I can say it.
Yeah, we can't even hear it, but like it looks like it would be very cringe, and I think they're doing their best.
Well, give it a Google and listen to it. Tell us what you think. I definitely like this guy's.
Oh yeah, he gets his lady in on it, and she look all the attitude she's got in her raps.
Well, a lot of people. What like have you?
She's showing her ass and shit. Who the hell got Gladys up?
Oh my god. Well, it's like the Westboro Baptist Church will make like parody songs of like popular music.
Oh well, okay.
But it'll all be like, you're all going to hell for your.
Oh, I want to hear their version of WAP. That is pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
It's worship and praise.
I just didn't know that they were getting into comedy. I didn't know they had.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had like a spectrum of talent.
Yeah, they're going on tour next year. Their TikTok's blowing up.
Ooh, let's go.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Probably.
We wanted to. It's been too long. I don't know when the last time you've been over here.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Are you on the 5 Timers Club yet now, or?
Oh yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, because I think the first time I ever did the podcast was when you were over on Walnut
Street. Yeah.
Yeah, and BJ was the one who I think like got me in over here.
What you gave us to get on the podcast.
Yeah, that's what gets everybody in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will vividly remember that because it was steak and eggs was the theme.
Oh.
And it was just some of the most delicious shit I've ever eaten. And my first time I ever had steak tartare, which was kick-ass, and it ended with a fucking tomahawk with a duck egg on it.
Oh, yeah.
Was that State of the Brunch?
Huh?
Was that State of the Brunch with Scotch?
No, I don't think. I think it was just an episode.
I think we just went hard on a steak and eggs.
Yeah,
day
Chris
one
was
time.
still around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still alive.
Well,
but,
yeah.
He was around. He just
Rest
keeps,
in pod, right?
He keeps having kids. He keeps having all these kids and moving.
Yeah.
To Carmel.
That'll happen.
But so one of the favorite things. Yeah, that was the ball. Episode.
That was pre-Pandy.
Oh, Married to the Ball.
Married to the Ball.
Oh, I think this was even before. Married to the Ball was when you guys were over on. The
mansion.
Yeah.
Have you been to the mansion?
Yeah.
Wow,
I was
you've been
there.
to all 3
Yeah, oh
spaces.
yeah. I think I'm up there. I'm definitely at 5, if not over 5. I think
We
I don't know.
really need to figure out our 5-timers club and our wall of shame.
And what
I
do
feel
the
like
5-timers get? Do they get free passes to our events?
I mean, we should figure out a 6-timers at this point. 'Cause I think we passed them all by.
Yeah.
Well, 5-timers is when you should start getting it. You know,
Gotcha.
and then eventually, and then 10. I assume we're not doing 6 and 7s. Zach,
I would say 5-timers, they don't have to give BJs to get on the show.
yeah,
anymore.
but you just come on.
Well, good to know that now.
Getting cummed on.
Yeah, jeez, I had to take a shower and everything.
But you're one of our favorite guests to talk to because you're a comedian, you're a musician,
Funny, musical.
you're also someone that has their ear to the ground of a lot of. Well, you had a conspiracy podcast, or
A podcast that started in January of 2020, and we had to shift. that was like, we definitely were going to talk about a lot of conspiracy stuff, but we definitely wanted to try and keep it about a lot of things. But then March of 2020 happened 2 months into the pod, and we're just like, well, here we are now. So so we doubled down on it. But but yeah, no, we definitely shifted into a ton of that sort of conversation and content for sure.
well, let me ask you this: since you started doing the podcast, what things were you talking about that in 2020 would have been considered conspiracies that you feel like have been proven true?
Good
Everything.
Everything's real.
I mean, and it's really not everything, but I think the wildest thing was the fact that the government is being open about like the quote unquote non-human biologics, which technically could be a dog. So like, you know, it's they're using a lot of, you know, the first
You think it's a space dog?
the first living organism in space was a dog, I believe.
So
That
some
went
of the-
into the orbit of Earth. It was they put a dog in a little pod to see how long it would live.
Russian, and then
So when we're talking non-human biologics, there's you know,
okay.
but
Didn't we shoot some apes into space too?
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've sent tons of things into space before we sent ourselves, for sure. But let's see, from back in 2020 to now, I mean, but there's so much in the conspiracy conversation, and that just can never really be locked down, and that's the sort of point that I think a lot of what I'm trying to make is like, hey, yeah, they're talking about aliens, but we still don't have the Epstein client list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, yeah, this thing is happening, and it's not about really debunking things that are happening as being fake, but it's also like, hey, yeah, that thing happened, but also like, here's maybe why they're emphasizing on that. You know what I mean?
distractions.
Like a wag the dog kind of thing.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Or yeah, I mean, like, there's no doubt that the whole submarine issue was a problem. Like that whole that thing that went down with the billionaires and stuff and in their family, that's tragic. It was a very tragic scenario, but the way all that information rolled out and the way they had like this whole 1.5 week promotion and rollout strategy of like, they knew what happened to that before they told
Seems
the
like
public.
it, right?
Yeah.
It sure seems like it.
Yeah, there's definitely like, there's audio that's like dated, I believe, to like, you know, within a few minutes, not a few minutes, but a few hours after it was considered missing, that they heard a big pop and they were like, yeah, that's probably what that was. But they just kept it rolling out through all of the media stuff for like a week because, you know,
people are going to be interested in that.
Sure, absolutely. And there's a ton of coverage to be had there, a ton of clicks to be had. There's a ton of videos to be seen, a ton of articles to be read.
My question for you is, why don't you think they talked about the boat that went down that had 300 people on there?
Sure. Well, I mean,
they talked about it a little bit, but
yeah. I mean, I would just assume that, like, you know, the nefarious speculation would be obviously that they are just trying to promote, you know, that they're trying to sympathize with billionaire culture.
Oh, okay.
Whereas, you know, I mean, I guess that would be probably the most, I don't know. I don't want to call that cynical because unfortunately that's just the way folks are when it comes to like big media and that sort of thing. They tend to, you know, try to talk about the, you know, the puppy that's stuck in the well and not necessarily the, you know, puppy mills. You know what I mean? Like they never really want to talk about the broader problem.
Yeah.
Because then if you talk about the 300 people that drowned, you'd have to talk about why they were leaving. You'd have to talk about why they had to do that to get into the country. There's all this conversation they don't want to have. It's way easier to be like, isn't it sad that these billionaires died? Yeah, that sucks. But let's not talk about, you know, immigration reform. We don't want to talk about that because then if you talk about the 300 people that drowned, you'd have to talk about why they were on the boat and all that stuff.
So good.
So yeah, they don't want to do that.
It is a very complex thing because it's like one of the things too where like I know it's very popular right now to like be like anti-America and shit on America, but then it's just like when you talk to someone who's an immigrant, it's like people are literally clinging to sides of boats to get over here.
100%.
So it's just like, trust me, believe me, it could be way fucking worse.
Yeah. But we can also acknowledge that it could be way better. And I think that's the beauty of it.
Sure.
Is I mean, we truly are living in like the most technologically accessible time in history. You know, information is at the majority of the population's fingertips at all time. Does everyone have access to it at all times? No. But when people are motivated so intensely by whatever situation they're in to get here, like you said, it's like there's got to be something that those that are accustomed to it are not necessarily seeing. You know what I mean? And it kind of requires a little bit of a zoom out sort of perspective. But then at the same time, you know, you kind of, as above, so below, we talk about that all the time. But like, you know, you have to, as far as you can zoom out to get a perspective, you need to zoom in equally as hard to try and fine tune all the pieces of, you know, society that there are. Because I think that one of the things that is separating, I think that the next generation, like the millennials' children, are going to have such a closer relationship with their parents and just the millennial generation than we are having with the boomer generation because of the fact that the millennials are not that there aren't any boomers saying this, because obviously there are, but like the majority of the millennial population is like, there's shit that's wrong and we're going to try and correct it at the individual level as much as possible. Cause I mean, ultimately the whole will not be anything until, you know, folks start to try and do what they can within their own 20 feet or whatever, you know what I mean? Trying to contribute more in their communities. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it is awesome to be in America, and it is awesome to have a lot of the opportunities that we have here that you wouldn't have anywhere else. But at the same time, we owe it to America to be critical of the shit that's fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be honest, it's not like boats from France is trying to get over here. Like there's like not boats from France sinking and like, hey, we want to try to get in America. It's actually, it's like the third world countries. It's the places where they have like, you know, dictators, you know, running their country, and there's political
the cartel,
you know,
behind those dictatorships.
Exactly. And then so
governments, like, whatever.
In that sense, we become the 1 or 2% that we're trying to crawl, and then like I get mad when our attitude is let them eat cake.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you don't like cake?
Cake's not healthy to eat.
Thought you were a pastry boy.
Okay, I take that back. Let them eat cake. All right. No, I'm just saying, like, our attitude though becomes like, hey, well, we are the richest country, and we shouldn't let, you know, people from shithole countries to come in. Is what ends up being the mantra, and I would never say that.
Well, sure, but at the same time, it's those people in our government that represent the populace that do sort of have that sort of thought. So it's like, yeah, we specifically don't feel that way, but unfortunately, there's these, you know, who knows, like these, like it's becoming more and more clear. Like we talked about this a little bit before, that like these 80-plus-year-old people in government are not making decisions on their own. They are absolutely 100% handled by their staffers. Like it's not. Like, there's a video of Dianne Feinstein, whatever, this week at Congress where there's literally one of her staffers just saying, sitting next to her at the voting area, she's say yay. Just say yay. And she's like, wait, what am I looking at? She's like, just say yay. And she's like, yay. And they're like, okay, next vote. And it's like, what?
It's a real Weekend at Bernie's situation because like she's getting wheeled around and propped up. We all saw Glitch McConnell stroke out.
That's a t-shirt.
You know, I feel like Biden's entire presidency has been like, I feel like with Biden, I feel like they give him like the talk drugs, like right before he has to make a speech. And I feel like almost like the way I used to cram for like a test, like moments before I took it, I can retain this for about 5 minutes, and then it's just all it's all gonna be gone.
Falling out at the end of it.
Yes, I feel like they bang him up full of presidential talk juice, and then hit him with all the points, and then you can watch literally in the speech as he starts waning off of it, and then just talking about corn pop or whoever.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that like, and it's both sides of the aisle. It's why would these people? We would not let these people drive cars. You would not be hiring these people for most jobs.
Yeah.
But like for some reason, like, and I don't know why, because it's like Trump and Biden were the oldest presidents for a while, right?
Biden was born closer to Abraham Lincoln's presidency than his own. That's mathematically true.
I mean,
it's a 2 years difference. He was born 77 years from Abraham Lincoln's assassination. He took office at 79.
Wow.
But you're never going to take office closer to your...
You are if you're under the age of 77 in his scenario. If he took office at age 50, he would have been, at least probably a little bit more. But no, because he took it to office at age 79.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Well, we have age requirements, like you have to be this old to be president. I'm so surprised we don't have some sort of like, hey, you probably shouldn't be running when you're
90. But then that's ageist, right? But I like actually
that's okay. Some things should be ageist.
I'm not gonna, well,
you shouldn't be able to dictate policy for the next 20 years when you're not going to be around the next 20 years.
Certain things definitely require a certain amount of aptitude, and running a country, I think, definitely requires at least an aptitude test once you reach a certain age.
There you go, the aptitude test.
So I guess that would be the anti-ageist means, is being like, hey, just every year you have to like an ice step. But they'll make it probably the easiest thing in the world. It'll take an hour. They'll do it at their doctor's office or something probably. But yeah, do an eye test to make sure you can read what you're, a comprehension test of some kind to make sure that you can actually understand what it is you're reading. Like, that's something that, like stock prices of a company, we need to know our politicians are able to perform.
Yeah.
Our votes is, if we want to believe the system works the way we're told it works, then our votes are essentially like stock. And like, if we're going to be casting them, we want to make sure we're casting them to someone capable.
Yeah. There's a lot of trust loss. And I will say, when I saw the glitch, like I did become a little bit more ageist at the time. Like at that moment, I'm like, okay, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like we can't be doing this.
Yeah. And so I guess the term is like, I would rather not be ageist, but I would definitely be like maybe a capablist, not ableist necessarily, but capablist. Yes.
Whoa, buddy.
At a certain age, they're not capable of running a country.
Sure. Shut it down, Zach.
Like you wouldn't hire a 75-year-old to deliver UPS.
Yes, I
would. You know
would.
what I'm saying? Like you wouldn't. I mean, there's very few jobs where you would probably be like, oh, but again, yeah, if you can physically and mentally do it, then you should definitely be able to.
Sure.
And there's some people, like, let's be honest, like by the time you hit, there's some people that are fucking spry in their 80s. And there's some people that
they
are,
don't
like,
work for the government because
out.
that is death. That is like death work. You know what I mean? No one wants to. You know what I mean? In fact, the fact that you get lifetime benefits, I'm surprised Congress doesn't have a straight 4-year turnover every year. I mean, like, you know what I mean? There's obviously more benefits in that financially through the other means of gaining wealth through government. But like the fact that you get lifetime benefits and salary for the rest of your life, like, I would do a 4-year stint in Congress for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As boring and lifeless and soulless as it would be. Sure.
I think you'd be great in Congress, to be honest with you.
I mean, maybe. I would get annoyed with the people first and foremost.
But that's what I want to see. I want to see angry buck.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think something happens when you go in, because you see a lot of people go in with piss and vinegar and good intentions, and then something happens with, like, I don't know what they show you on day one when you're in there, but I think what it is just like, oh, this is all a fucking game. This is all, and like you might be able to get this one little thing done, and the whole time you're here.
Conspiracy time.
Okay,
you ready?
Let's get into it.
There's a drug that Vice
adrenochrome.
There's this movie about this guy who's saving all the kids, and it's the same guy who was Jesus. No, I feel they just got the Passion of the Christ guys back together is basically what they did. They were like, can we do the Passion
sequel.
again?
Too Christ, too furious.
That might be the name of the episode.
That's so good.
Oh, that was good.
Oh, that's great. But no, there's this drug that Vice did an episode, one of their, like, I forget the series of shows was, but Vice did a series on a bunch of different drugs, and there's one that exists and comes out of South America that is in a dust form that is like a mind control drug, essentially. Like, what would happen, the way it was used in the street was tourists would be, like, obviously showing off whatever they have. Someone would walk up to them as they're walking back to their hotel or whatever, spray some of this, like, in their face, and within seconds they are, like, malleable people. They can do whatever you want them to do. So one of the ideas behind Epstein's Island is, what if they just get you out to the island, blow this into your face, get you on camera doing whatever weird shit they told you to do, and then you wake up the next day with, like, hey, here's a little folder with these photos, you work for us now. So it's like that's an even, like, easier idea for me to wrap my mind around than the fact that all these people are predators. You know what I mean? Like, that seems, and if Epstein truly is the information and blackmail, like, agent that he could potentially be, like, is speculated with, possibly, like, Ghislaine Maxwell and, like, her dad's ties with the Israeli Mossad, the Israeli intelligence. So if he was working for some other entity as a means of gathering blackmail on American influential people, then that would be an insanely easy way to do it.
So are you saying they're compromising them on both sides?
Sure. Yeah, why not? Why not control both sides of the chessboard? You know what I mean? If you're trying to truly create a pyramid, where all the power just sort of funnels to a certain place. But yeah, that's the recent conspiracy that I found out sort of regarding that. And I'm like, that would also explain why a lot of these people are trying to keep it quiet, because, like, they would also have to publicly admit that this trauma for them, and who knows what the hell they were, doing under the whatever influence. It starts with an S. I can't remember the name of the drug, but it's a very long drug, very long name of a drug. It starts with an S, SAL something. But yeah, that was a wild conspiracy I learned about recently.
I always thought of the island as more like, I don't think they're rolling out underage kids every time. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like, hey, we're gonna go down. This guy's got this island. We can do whatever we want. Yeah. It's gonna be there. We got girls down there, and then when we go, maybe you start sussing out, like, well, we'll Bill likes them a little younger, like, or like, hey, let's get some 18-year-olds in there. They're like, and then you start realizing, well, maybe we get some 16-year-olds in there, and then it's just like, and then all of a sudden it's just like you're drinking, you're doing drugs, these girls are out on your lap, and all of a sudden, and then they're like, oh, by the way, she's only 15. Did you know that? And they're like, here's the document. Like, I don't know if you necessarily need brain control drugs to fucking get these people caught up in things.
Definitely. Like, not for some of these folks, for sure.
I mean, here's the thing. If you right now, like, if you ask me, hey, Thad, do you want to go out to the island and hang out and, like, have a party for a week and it's all inclusive?
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be like, hey, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to probably ask, like, hey, are there kids on this island?
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking about that.
Yeah, you would genuinely assume that the adult that asked you that there's no context of communication about children at all. Yeah. You would assume that they're like, yeah, this is definitely a 21 plus scenario.
Yeah, like, you like beer. They will be like, you like beer? Like, sure, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I've never revealed this on this podcast before, but, like,
did you go to the island?
I used to be part of this organization called the Catholic Church, and I would go there every Sunday, and I just thought the good things were happening, and apparently there were some bad things happening within that organization.
And they did it without an island. Yeah. That's the amazing thing about that.
That is a good point, Zach.
Indeed.
I don't know.
R.I.P. Sinead O'Connor.
It's tough.
Man, I like, it was weird because I was just, have you ever listened to the show You're Wrong About? Have you ever heard of it? It's a podcast about kind of people that were maligned in the news, especially like in like the 90s.
Oh, sure.
And it's a lot of women who were just like, and they do these deep dives, and it's kind of like, because like I remember like the Long Island Lolita being like, that was the whole thing, and there was like multiple movies made about her, and it was just like, what a tramp she was and how she whatever, and it was like, no man, like this 40-year-old man has sex with a 14-year-old girl turned her into a fucking prostitute, and then got her all twisted around where she like shot somebody. And like when you hear it laid out like that, you're like, oh. Or like Monica Lewinsky was always like, what a whore, you know. And then it was just like, oh, this 21-year-old girl, like,
was absolutely predator. Like, you
it would never fly today.
Yeah,
like never in a million years would you be like, well, they both were involved in it. Be like, be like, oh, this president. No, you're saying
I'm not even gonna go into it.
I think you should.
Duh, speak your truth.
You guys really want me to speak my truth?
Do it. We're behind the paywall.
She was a whore. no, that's not what I was gonna say. That's not what I was gonna say. I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to. Yeah, I guess it would be scary having a leader of the nations ask you to do sexual things.
Literally the most powerful bit. Like
at the time.
There's a lot of times when I hear people like, they abuse their power, and I'm like, you both work at an Applebee's, you know? But when you're literally the most powerful person on the planet,
I haven't read her book.
Free world.
I haven't read her book. I would like to read
Makes
it.
two of us, pal.
Huh? What'd you say? What'd you say, sir?
Go ahead. You were talking about the books.
I'm lost. But yeah, I think I should wait to speak on this. Not that I'm like against her or anything like that. I'm just like, I was trying to figure out like, does it take two to tango? But no, not when you're the most powerful person on earth.
Influence is a wild thing, and like you gotta realize it also. Slick Willie. That was his name. His nickname was Slick Willie.
Slick Willie?
Yeah. I think he like even did a little campaigning under Slick Willie in Arkansas. Yeah, so he was the governor of Arkansas. This dude has been running up and down staffers for years. It has to be assumed that that's just the way this guy operates, right? Plays a saxophone? Are you kidding me?
It's a problem waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I don't trust any
The joke
president
before
plays
Barack
sax.
was that he was the blackest president we had. You know what I mean? Like just because he was so cool and smooth.
He played
you know what I mean?
the saxophone on Arsenio Hall.
Right? Absolutely.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of Thad's Slut Shaming Podcast.
Hey, whore, I said.
This week on the After Brunch Podcast.
The first level is so interesting because it's like you can't really feel good even after you pass. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like all you can do is not feel worse. You can feel worse or you can feel nothing. But there's no feeling good at level 1.
I mean, depends how long you like after at our level, like when you've been in this for a few years. Yeah, you kind of go, all right, I know what my act is. It should move on, but I have no control of that.
Yeah.
Early on, be excited for everything. It gets hard down this way.
Oh yeah,
It gets hard deeper on the road.
And Thad and I were talking about because I think we're
Leave me out of this.
Oh, they are.
I think the entire contest left you out of it.
Join us at patreon.com/harderbrunch.
And we're back talking to Kyle Buck. Kyle, you said you just came off of the road?
Yeah. Yeah, we did a little 3-day run. We did the Brownsburg Summer Soundtrack Concert Series, which was cool. It was hotter than shit.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. And then Friday night we did the Southgate House Revival down in Newport, Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati. And then last night we did the Nook in Danville, Kentucky, which is a kick-ass little low-ceiling room, little listening room. They got a bar in the front, almost like a comedy club style.
Cool.
And then down in the basement's a free arcade.
Oh, wow.
And like, yeah, it's cool. Kick-ass little space. So.
Say the name of the band again.
Stampede String Band. Yep. Doing the plucking the old stringaroonies out there.
Now,
yeah, it was fun.
Do you guys call yourself like bluegrass, or what's the genre you would?
When we first started, we were going Indiana's freshest modern folk and bluegrass, which I think was, just kind of a way to, jump out in front of folks. But I mean, yeah, we definitely dabble in a lot of that sort of old style roots stuff. But at the same time, we want to play stuff that's still fresh and fun to us. So we've definitely got a few songs in the mix that you're like, damn, this isn't something I would hear from a normal. I wouldn't think string band and then think this sort of groove. So
I didn't expect to hear the N-word as much.
Well, you haven't come out to Duke's. No, I'm just kidding. No, shout out to Duke's. It's one of our favorite places, and they definitely would not tolerate that sort of shit.
Now,
Good.
we played one of your songs when you were on the show last time, correct?
I think so. Yeah, the single we released, I think.
Because that was the only time we've gotten a copyright strike.
Oh, really?
Yep, no, absolutely.
I mean-
I could have I think there was a process where I could connect with you over YouTube and verify it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just don't want you talking.
Yeah, weird. No, I don't remember getting a notification, but I mean, technically our stuff is copywritten, but it's wild that they wouldn't even realize the context of me introducing the song is my approval.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then again, they don't know who I am, I guess, but I don't know.
Are you trying to signal that you don't want a young Bill Clinton on the screen?
on the screen.
Yeah, I get really upset about young Willie. No young Willies on my screen. What did I say?
No, I second that motion. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we had a little 3-day run. It was fun. I got back 3:00 this morning, and
Oh, wow.
So
That's so when you're doing these gigs with a band, I'm trying to compare it kind of to comedy.
Yeah.
Obviously you have to ask for more money because you're splitting it.
Yeah.
Typically, how long are you performing?
It depends. When we hit the road, we try to stick to venues and listening rooms, less bars and breweries, that sort of thing. Because it's way easier just to travel without the PA, and none of those places usually have one. So when we hit the road, we usually try to do the venue stop, but sometimes the venue will just say, question mark, end time. You start at this time, question mark, end time. But we try to do at least an hour and a half.
Okay.
We try to do at least an hour and a half. I think we did an hour 45 on Friday night. And we did an hour and a half last night. So we feel like that's a pretty solid headliner set.
I think 90 minutes is the perfect time for any show. You know, comedy show, music show. I don't want to be anywhere more.
Well, we had an opener too. We had Katie Meadows out of Zanesville, Ohio, open for us on both shows. She's pretty kick-ass. Check her out if you guys like singer-songwriters. Her voice is very, very good. But yeah, so she'll do 45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll do an hour and a half. So the show itself is 2:15.
Yeah, it's a real deal. Have you ever done stand-up before you've performed with a band?
No, but
warm up with comedy.
No, I've never done that specifically, but that is kind of what I do with the Freeform concert series. I MC those through. There's an organization that I work with called 45 Creations. That's all DIY stuff, and there's a concert series they do on Wednesdays, select Wednesdays up in Carmel at the Hotel Carmichael. There's a venue called Feinstein's. No relation. No relation whatsoever, but yeah. So I kind of MC those. So that's the only time I've ever really mixed comedy with music per se. And we're doing one of those ourselves coming up in September. So I don't know how I'm going to make that work, but I'm probably going to end up getting someone else to host it. I wonder if I know anyone who can host things. But anyway. Yeah, so I mean, never really, but I do some in between. I have them set up a vocal mic for me, not for singing at all, simply in between banter. So I do little asides in between and stuff. So nothing crazy, but I do mention there's one part of our show where I step off for a song because I let the two of them just do one that I don't really add anything to, and they sound so good themselves. But I start that off by telling the story of how I left to do comedy for a few years and that it's going so well that I rejoined the band. And so we try to throw jokes in there and and that sort of thing. But no, never really tried to do any warm up. I need to give that a shot.
I got a question.
Yes.
For you. And this is not about your career.
Okay.
The aliens.
Yes.
What's going on? I'm very curious.
If the aliens attack Earth, it's gonna have a Raytheon price tag. It's gonna have a Raytheon created thing that aliens are not gonna get in their ships, come into our thing, and just start blowing us up. If aliens truly wanted to fuck with us, we wouldn't even know. It would just be
you think they're that powerful?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, because I think the true quote-unquote aliens of contact are not traveling physically on spaceships. I think they're traveling interdimensionally. Yeah, I think anything that we see on a spacecraft or anything that blows anything up via spacecraft is just military industrial complex weapons that, from other nations, could be our own, whatever. But the shit that's coming out of Antarctica right now is fucking insane.
What's coming out of?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
So there's another whistleblower. So they're giving a lot of stage to the one who came out about UFOs and stuff and that sort of thing. But there's another whistleblower coming out of Antarctica that's saying even more intense shit, which could be one reason why they're giving all this air to the.
That's where they keep the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So the National Institute of Science has a station down there where scientists from all over the world come and work, and they hire contractors to come down and like manage the electrical and whatnot. And they have what are called DOMs. I forget what that stands for, but there's about 1,000 of them, and they're underground. They're about the size of a basketball. And this guy's coming out and saying that these things are able to produce 2,000 volts each, like 2,047 volts each, which is fucking insane. And there's about 1,000 of them under the ice. And what they're saying that they're doing there is trying to learn how to communicate.
Wait, I'm sorry, you lost me. Is this something that they're saying they put there, or something they discovered there?
That the National Institutes of Science, like this is a public thing that scientists from all over the world have been working on. It's like a global collective thing that's in the past only been stated as like a form of communication. They're only studying as a means of intergalactic communication that can be as fast possibly as the speed of light. But this whistleblower is coming out and saying not only have they achieved communication through this thing, but they have achieved transmission. So they can weaponize the energy that they're using to try and communicate. And this whistleblower is saying that they have attempted to use it 3 times, and one of the misfires caused the Christchurch earthquake in New Zealand, killing tons of people. He said that was Antarctica like misfiring. And he said that the term direct energy weapons needs to be something that all people on Earth learn quickly, because it's going to be something that they need to pay attention to. So
is it a thing where you bounce it through the Earth, actually?
I'm not 100% sure. I just saw him give like a press conference about like, he said that he turned his information into a few Senate officials and that they want to have a close conversation with him before they do any sort of public hearing. But he said that they're certainly interested in the information he's brought forward. So we may see something come forward from that. But just like the guy with the aliens was talking about how there's this group of officials, both government and non, that are like making these calls. I feel like those same sort of folks probably have some influence down in Antarctica as well. And yes, it's this guy right here. Yeah,
3 whistleblowers break the silence on Antarctica earthquake weapon, Stargate, and UFO encounters.
Yeah. Well, he also was talking about how he witnessed a giant green laser coming up out of this out of this Antarctic station, just up into the cosmos. And like, he doesn't know specifically like how it works or what it does. I mean, he just didn't describe it here, but yeah, he said he witnessed a giant green laser, like a Death Star sort of thing, coming out of this station in Antarctica. And
there does seem to be like an influx of like people that have like higher and higher security clearance.
Yeah.
People that are like, these aren't just like, your uncle drunk on a farm somewhere.
And he's not selling a book. Like, he's not selling a Patreon. This guy doesn't seem to have anything for sale. He's just like, hey, here's what they're doing, and they're using your money to do it.
I think, for me, one of the alarming things, I listened to a bit of the congressional hearing, and one of the alarming things to me is how boring all these witnesses are. They're not like, like your typical like people you get on the news that are like, they took my cows.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh man, it's kind of like people where you hear them talking, it sounds pretty serious.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Now I've heard the phrase drip feed a lot, and saying like, basically like the way to like let people know about something that would be, change the course of human history.
Yeah.
Is because like they were kind of talking about this a little bit in 2020. Like they're kind of talking about this, like you get a little bit of information, and it's almost like you're tempering the the collective thought about like, oh, I guess there might be aliens.
Yeah, either that or they're or they're utilizing predictive programming. If you believe in predictive programming, it's the idea that you can implant things. Like anything that is a thing was a thought before it was a thing. Mm-hmm. All things have to be thought before they can become actual. So like, that's why when we look back and we look at old Star Trek, they had what looked like iPads and all this sort of stuff because someone thought of that. It was like, oh, here's what it could look like. And then years later, someone was like, oh, we should design something like a pad. And like, maybe they didn't go look at those episodes for inspiration, but they probably watched them and were like, oh, this would be cool. Yeah. So it's like, you know, that sort of stuff. If you believe in that. There's a lot of
stuff specifically from Star Trek though. Yeah. Like automatic like grocery doors and shit like that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And like, so if you believe in predictive programming and you're someone who has influence over production studios and you're someone who has production influence over, you know, actors or politicians, then you can publicize whatever you'd like to see manifested in however means you'd like to see it manifested or what. Now, obviously there's not like a make a wish and it comes true. Yeah. But like if you wanted to put that thought in the psyche, you know what I mean? You would put out an Independence Day film, or you would put out like, you know, like none of this is gonna. If we looked outside and saw aliens in the sky, that's not something none of us have seen before. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. And so we maybe haven't seen it in real life, but we've seen it on a screen somewhere at some point.
Well, like it was like I remember when 9/11 happened, and like watching like the live footage, and having I couldn't separate the realness of it because I remember I had just seen a Godzilla movie that looked almost exactly like I've seen buildings fall this way. Yeah, you know, and then I kept having to tell myself, no, this is actually real. This is actually happening. This is actually allegedly.
Yeah, and, well, and even when it comes to like I saw a video the other day that was because now there's all these UFO sighting videos coming out, and we're living in the era essentially now. They say it's coming. I feel like we're there now where you can't trust video. Like video's not the open and shut case that it used to be. Yeah. And so like a lot of these, you know, UFOs in the sky thing are very easily like debunkable. But like there was one that has happened a lot. And there's a lot of old videos. But it looks like essentially like a falling star, like a meteorite, and then it just stops in the middle of the air, and then it just like becomes a ball that's like now moving around. Those are very common forms of sightings or forms of videos anyway. And I'm like, if that is actually how they were to, you know, maybe become, you know, embodied in our realm or whatever, like who wouldn't be, imagine if you were in, you know, 3,000 years ago, Jerusalem, you would say, oh, that's a fallen angel. Oh, that's a fallen angel that now, and then all of a sudden that being comes down and like does whatever. You know, it's easy that folks, that the stories that we've heard over the years can all just be interpretations of the same thing. You know, not to get too ancient aliens on you, but like, you know.
It also could be like what you kind of said at the top of it where, you know, we have, well, this is military industrial complex. We have these next generation drones that we're trying to keep secret, and maybe it's better to like make up this alien story and put that out there. Like people really like this alien stuff.
I mean, watching the drone shows where they can, you know, make skulls and stuff in the sky and make them animated,
dragons
like,
and shit.
That kind of makes me, you know, I don't know. I don't disbelieve in aliens at all, but I also tend to be a little more cynical, I think. Like I think my mind first goes to things like military tech that's, you know, a decade ahead of what we realize, and then just like psyop, like how much of it is, you know, like, I mean, if we're seeing it on the news and you know in the mainstream, then I feel like that's a lot more of a curated view, and it makes me wonder why talk about it now, like you know this has been going on since the 30s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Roswell was what, 28 or maybe that's 48, maybe, I don't know, but like, yeah, no, it's been something like sightings have been in newspapers since, you know, I mean, there are even, I mean, George Washington himself wrote in his diary that he saw little green men in the woods. You know what I mean? Like,
that was absinthe.
Yeah.
He just liked to get twirly sometimes.
Yeah. He wrote that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he put in his diary that he saw like some sort of beings or some sort of like, check me on that. I want to make sure I'm right. But like, I'm pretty sure that he wrote something about having maybe. I mean, maybe he was recalling a dream. He could have been recalling a dream.
I've talked about it on the show, but when I was a kid, I had to go to therapy because I had such a fear of aliens, because like aliens were just kind of all over pop culture at that time, and it was
Men in Black really fucked you up.
Well, I'm a little bit older than Men in Black, but it was like Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
There was a show called Alien Nation that was on.
The cartoon Martian.
They were just everywhere. I remember like when the TV guide with Alien Nation came, it was just like on. Like I was already like terrified of aliens, and then one day it was just like the cover of like the newspaper was just a family of big-headed aliens, and I just remember being like frozen, just like, oh God, they're here. Like they're here. Like they're on.
Yeah.
They're like, it's out in the open now.
Well, and you're gonna have tons of folks that are like, and you know, when the government comes out, like you said, Zach, the fact that the government's coming out being like, yeah, here's the aliens.
Yeah, let's hear them out.
yeah. Absolutely. It's like, you know.
It is very interesting because I was listening to not FDR, excuse me. I was listening to Robert Kennedy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how the CIA is actually the biggest donor to journalism.
I think the CIA is one of those non-government officials that's sort of running a lot of that stuff at the
playing the plays,
100%.
And so it's like, so if you're controlling the narrative in the media, it's like, again, this might be a distraction.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the CIA's got their hands on nearly everything, you know, in some fashion. And then if you go look at the military-industrial complex, they all have a lot of the same donors. BlackRock, Vanguard are just, they have tons of shares in all of them. So, like, you know, it's not necessarily just these, you know, technology manufacturers, but it's also the people, like, they have the same business interests in mind. They're not trying to compete for the best form of whatever. They're all doing different parts of the same project. And, like, I think it would be... I think we're seeing, if anything, I think the aliens would be trying to open our eyes to our fucking shit that's happening. If anything, I think that whatever interdimensional beings would want to interfere with us, I think they'd be on our side. I think they would be like, your government's poisoning your water, it's poisoning your air, your planet is about to die, and here's all the, you know, shit that you can do about it. Like, I don't think they would come here and like, it would be so out of their way and would be so against what an advanced civilization, how advanced they would need to be. It would, you know, if aliens did come here for any reason, I don't think it would be hostile. It would be like, hey, you guys are a primitive people. Like, you're going through like one of your first cultures, you know, we're trying to, you know, help. I don't think they would be here in any sort of like hostile way. And if they were, we wouldn't know it. We would just not be here anymore.
Yeah, I think if they came here, like, well, so if there are people here or there are aliens here, I think it's possible for like scouts or small numbers of them.
Sure.
Like, I don't know if necessarily they would be aggressive or not. Like, I'd hope not. I would think that if they came in large quantities, they would be technologically advanced such that it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like, we're not seeing them gather in large quantities.
Yeah. Well, and you mean the aliens?
Yeah, the UFOs.
Because I think a lot of those actual videos are just technology tests.
Glitch.
Well, no, I think that Raytheon, Lockheed, or whoever is out here testing their stuff, and they've been doing it for years. So the easiest way to do that is just chalk it up to a crazy guy said he saw a UFO. No, that didn't happen. But wait, they're all seen above Grissom Air Force Base in Kokomo. Oh, well, no, that's just a coincidence. You know, it has nothing to do. You know what I mean? So it's like they've just been shoveling it under the rug for so long that, like, you know,
we're gonna switch up the narrative a little bit here.
Exactly. They're gonna be like, yeah, we did know about it, but
what?
You know,
where are your thoughts about? Because this is kind of something that's kind of become huge, I think, in the last year, especially since the last time we talked to you, about AI and like the dangers of AI. Because there was at first a very quick like, AI is going to kill us all in the next 3 months, and I feel like it's receded a little bit, but there's definitely some. I don't know. I just want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, AI it's one of those like any other sort of thing. There's always a double-edged sword with it. I love the fact that AI is gonna eliminate a lot of bullshit jobs that people have to do. Although I don't want to see those people placed without a job. I think it's going to force the issue of a universal basic income. I think you're going to see you're going to see Salesforce, you're going to see all of the Amazon, you're going to see all of these companies with that hire data analysts and people who, do a lot of manual sales contacts and stuff like that. As soon as they can drop that to AI securely and they can feel good about it, I think they're going to release all of those jobs. I think that a lot of those corporate jobs are going to become into maintaining that AI. So, I mean, our programmers and stuff like that and developers are probably going to have a good amount of security. But when it comes to like what I did, like an AI could come in and do what I did at the mortgage company so easy. It was data analysis and it was interpreting documents. Like that's really all it was. And like, now what that's also going to do though, the growing pain there is going to be that people are going to obviously be hurting for money. The government's going to probably have to institute a universal basic income where everyone gets an X amount of dollars a month, to live. But I think it's going to allow people to become more passionate about what drives them as people. And I think that a lot of people are going to look into their own communities and what they can do in their own communities, because I think, as wild as a lot of the stuff that Jordan Peterson says, I think that one of the things he says about universal basic income is right on. And it's the idea that men can only live on bread alone. You know what I mean? And they can't. Like there are so many, I think there was... following World War II, there was a group of catatonic former soldiers that couldn't, pre-World War II, there was a group of catatonic folks in a hospital, but as soon as the bombs started hitting, I believe they were in Paris maybe, but as soon as the bombs started hitting, a lot of them woke up and were like, what's my role now? Like they were just these catatonic former soldiers that just didn't have anything else to live for, so they just stayed catatonic. But as soon as like they felt a need to do something, their brains woke up and they had a mission again. And so I think it's going to force people to find a mission. It's going to force people to find a purpose that they may be misplaced into their job. Which is not always simultaneously the same thing. Some of us are lucky enough to be able to put what they're passionate for as their job, but most of us don't. And I think it's going to force that issue because a lot of the mundane clickety-clack jobs are going to fall by the wayside, but also at the same time, it's going to hurt for a second, but then I think it's going to open up a lot of opportunities. And as long as we just use a logical and rational approach to programming the AI, and it means that it doesn't want to eliminate humans and that we don't leave ourselves vulnerable to, I think one of the biggest vulnerabilities we have as a society is the way that everything's connected to the internet. Like if they were to hack the Hoover Dam, you could kill millions of people, in minutes. And so, it's one of those things where as long as we keep a rational mind with it and we, which is humans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think it's a good and bad thing. Yeah. When it comes to like music specifically, make all the music you want. You're never going to be able to replace a live experience. You're never going to be able to replace the feeling you get in your chest when someone hits a kick drum. You know what I mean? You're never going to be able to replace the feeling of an analog voice going into a microphone coming out of speakers that you can feel.
No, I want to push back on that because have you ever been to Chuck E. Cheese before?
I have had my mind blown at a Chuck E. Cheese a time or two. I gotta say. But I give a shit whether or not I can hear like Kanye cover Adele or I can hear like Frank Sinatra cover Jay-Z or whatever. Sure, that's cool. And it's got a novelty and it's got a place.
That's happening right now?
Yeah, they have like AI that's learning all these voices and then they're like, hey, I want to hear, PIMP in the style of,
There I Ruined It is a good person or online thing to follow, and they do a lot of mashups and stuff like that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of capability. There's a lot of artistic capability with it because it can do so much that we can't. Like Billy Corgan was saying that like it took me 10,000 hours in a basement with a guitar to figure out how to do what I do. AI is going to be able to do it in a fraction of the time. Imagine the amount of the songs I could have written if I had, an AI style. Production model. So he's like, there's a positive way to use it and there's a negative one. So I'm ultimately not against it.
I think the thing about humans is that we are so adaptable to things where like for instance, like we went and saw Clint Breeze and DJ Littletown.
Hell yeah.
And they were like performing together with a live, like she's obviously, got her mixer and everything, and she's doing stuff. He's doing a live drum set. And it made me think about like the origins of hip hop, where people were like first like, oh, they're just playing other people's records.
Yeah.
Like that's not art. You
That's
know
a lot
I'm
of
saying?
what some of that reminds me of, like the AI art community.
Yeah.
It's very, yeah.
And it's just like, well, no, they're just becoming more adapted to like, well, now I'm making this new form of art with this established thing. I don't know. It's all very interesting.
Yeah, and then I think if we can just work out the legalities behind, like, because a lot of that AI does just interpret art that already exists, and a lot of that art does belong to other people. So I mean, like, if there's a way of like meeting a middle ground there, or like maybe if people, they're already going to have to start putting a disclaimer in the front of programs. It's like the following content has been 100% human prepared. You know what I mean? Because like I think the first 5 minutes of Secret Invasion was AI, right? Yeah. So
we should start doing that at the beginning of Harder Brunch. We'd be like, this brunch was made 100% by humans.
Well, I mean, no. I think the funny thing is, like, I think people think about it in terms of like that intro where it's obviously something animated. But I mean, truth is, we've had AI assisted parts of this show for the last 6 months.
Don't say that. Don't tell them.
I mean, like from preparation and writing bits from
Thad died 3 months ago.
I am not real.
yeah.
But yeah, like, and I think
It's not real. I don't care what you guys think. Go ahead.
no, I definitely think that's the kind of stuff that's going to be like, I mean, because it's going to be people that are augmented by AI that are doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you can say, well, it's not an AI doing it. It's just me doing it.
Yeah.
Only I'm using the AI to do everything.
Before we wrap up, I do want to talk about that lady on the plane. That motherfucker ain't real.
Yeah.
She saw a lizard person transform.
So
Why are
apparently,
lizard people only transforming on planes too?
Right.
Like,
Planes.
well, they saw that movie and they were like, this is where we do it. Maybe Samuel L. Jackson will be here. Snakes on a plane joke. But so there was actually a guy on TikTok who is a Freemason, but he's got a bunch of face tattoos. And apparently he claimed to be the guy that she was sitting next to.
Okay.
And that she was freaked out by his appearance. And so, and the fact that he had like, Freemason symbols and stuff on his hand, and she would ask him like, are you a Freemason? She was apparently very into, obviously, like, QAnon and stuff like that. And she's like, you're a Freemason. Are you Luciferian? Are you a devil worshiper? And he was explaining to her like, no, I'm not. That's a misconception. Da, da, da. And she apparently just wouldn't stop. And so he like stopped and looked at her and said, I am Lucifer, and like freaked her the fuck out. He said she was drunk and like that sort of thing. Now, whether or not he's being 100% truthful, I can't say. Obviously, I have no way, but he claims to be the guy. And he said, I wore a green hoodie. I even turned around to the guy behind me, he said, and like gave him a wink because like he saw the whole thing go down. And like he was claiming that like, no, I was just joking with her or something. But at the same time, I will say that I 150% believe in shapeshifters.
150.
Yeah, you really stuck that in there at the end.
Get Ryan Singer on here and ask him about shapeshifters. He has an entire podcast in which he talks to one of his exes who was a shapeshifter. And their time together. It's fucking wild.
One of his exes was a shapeshifter?
Yes. They dated for
Meaning
a few
like
months.
she gained weight?
No, like she would, in the middle of sex, like her face would change. He would look down and see someone completely different.
Well, that's
And,
called
like,
orgasm, honey.
Well, I mean, hey yo, but it's a very wild podcast. So, and I talked to him about it briefly when he was here for one of the Can shows, and I went and asked him about it. And I said, "Hey man, which episode was that where you had that guy on talking about his, shape-shifting girlfriend?" He said, that was me. That was my ex. We had that conversation. But so there's an episode of Me and Paranormal You where he talks with his like ex, and he talks about at one point she like wouldn't let him in or like wouldn't cuddle with him, and she had a big sweatshirt on. She woke up like 6 months pregnant randomly, and then it was gone the next day. Like, and she had to move all the time for work because an incident would happen with a coworker. They'd see something and she would have to like leave. So she ended up getting a job as like a traveling nurse or something where she was just always on the move. And so yeah, it's wild.
I
But
wonder how much gaslighting was brought up in that that relationship.
no, I
If you were
was
doing
someone
that all
else.
the time.
Oops, I'm pregnant again. Just kidding. Can you drop a beat for me there, Zach?
But
Kyle Buck, always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. You always bring something new. You always pepper in the craziest stuff at the end. I feel like it's just like,
and I do want to throw one more thing out here before we wrap up. I know you guys, I saw it up there, Wild Eye Dab Lounge. Come check it out. It's pretty tight. I'm one of the dab tenders over there, at Fountain Square. Munchies Fest. Yeah, Munchies Fest is coming up Sunday, September 24th. Wild Eye is going to be one of the major sponsors. Going to be happening right over at Playground Studios here in the Irv. Yeah. And check that out. UBHpresents.com for everything I got going on. Wilder Kind, Stampede.
Thaddeus Jake.
You're gonna be rich. I'm gonna use my time for it. You're gonna be rich at some point. Promise to be a good guy. What you do with all this money?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's one of those things that like I value being like as broke as I've been the last couple of years, just because I'm like now like if I were to like just get a big influx of money, I might have a little bit of a fuck you towards some of the stuff that goes on. Yeah. But no, I feel like it's one of those things where I would have such a hard time. I would have to go out of my way, I think, to be a big money dickhead. You know what I mean? And it's just so easy to tip more. It's just so easy to like, I don't know. I just find kindness to be very easy. Okay. And that's just it always has been for me for some reason. I feel very blessed in that way.
Big Money Dickhead sounds like a great band name. Zach Rowan.
I'd also like to use my time for Kyle. Real quick lightning question. How much money would it take for you to go corrupt?
Oh, that's a good question.
What's my number?
$3 billion.
See, I feel like when you get to such a high number, it doesn't matter. $3 billion might as well be $2 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
But like,
but it's not.
It would probably have to be a B.
A B?
It would have to have a B.
Not an M.
Not an M. It would have to be a B.
And then, at least you're drinking the adrenochrome.
I don't know if I would drink it.
You're having sex with kids.
You're doing like, come on, man.
Jesus.
I was going to talk about Epstein Island. That was all I was going to say you're going to the owl pageants. You're worshiping Morlock or whatever.
I'll go to Bohemian Grove and worship Morlock. I'll do that for $1 billion.
That's at least 5 Bs.
Yeah.
5 Bs.
Yeah, absolutely. You were referring to baby goats, right? That's what he meant by kids.
I mean, is that okay? I'm off of this subject.
All right, you can find that at Cancel Pod.
How much would it take? Sexually wreck yourself.
Welcome back to Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself.
$1 million? Is it $1 million? How about $2 billion?
All right. Well, he's not allowed to have cider again. We'll see you next time. Kyle, stick around. We're doing it backwards today. We're about to eat some food right now.
All right, let's do it.
Bye-bye.